Hello and welcome to this week's episode of Beyond the Broomstick, the podcast that opens up all those possibilities and opportunities that spirituality can bring to you in your everyday life, whilst removing some of the woo-woo that we see on social media these days. Welcome! If we haven't met before, my name is Matilda and I am a professional psychic medium here in Australia. I have been practicing for well over 20 years as a medium, a psychic and spiritual advisor. Been doing it all my life, but practicing professionally for over 20 years. In today's episode, I am going to take you into the world of reincarnation and past lives and my view on past life regression. Remember, what's on these podcasts is my view, my opinion, after doing thousands and thousands of readings and connecting with thousands of spirits over the years. What happens when we die? It's a question that I get asked all the time. It's a question that eventually everyone asks themselves at some point in their life. It transcends absolutely everything, whether it's racial, social, political, religious, economic, and gender lines, making it the one question common to all human beings, whether we like it or not. Ever since the first men and women began pondering their mortality 100,000 years ago, the question has eluded us. Or has it? I have spent my lifetime being able to communicate with those that are no longer with us. I have spent my working life as a medium connecting families with their loved ones who are in the afterlife. So for me, the answer is there. The answer that many people ask is there. And I understand it because I've had 53 years of conditioning. It is our individual social and religious conditioning that sometimes leads us to a belief system that may not be the truth, but it is our truth. If you think about it rationally, our body is made up of cells and brains and tissue and bone. And when we die, many people believe that our consciousness, our soul and our spirit die with our human body. The way that I have learnt to understand it over so many years is that we have a continuation of consciousness, and that continuation of consciousness travels through multiple bodies during our soul's journey. Now, this can span thousands and thousands of years. Our past lives could be during Roman times, or they could have been just 20, 30 years ago. And depending on what you believe, reincarnation is something that, some religions believe in it. The Buddhist religion is one of those. Reincarnation can happen multiple times during a soul's journey. Now, how do you know that, Matilda? How do you know that? Well, sometimes when I am bringing somebody through from the afterlife, I get glimpses of a past life, or I get glimpses of maybe something that happened a couple of 100 years ago, but I decipher out from what they are giving me in the modern time. So obviously, often I am doing readings for families who have lost someone in recent years, up to 30, 40, 50 years ago. And I am able to explain to them and give evidence to them that about that particular area of the soul's journey. But I have seen glimpses of different people's previous lives. Now, do you have to believe that? No, but it is my belief that reincarnation happens and a portion of your soul or some of your consciousness remains in the afterlife. Now, I will touch on past life regression very shortly and my belief system around past life regression. But what I will talk about is the fact that past lives do exist. Reincarnation does exist in my experience and in my knowledge. What stops us believing in the afterlife and believing in reincarnation is often our social conditioning, our educational conditioning, our religious conditioning. I have very sadly seen some mediums work and still touting their own religious beliefs as it is gospel because they can't let go of those even though they are a working medium. I have seen one medium talk about and actually do this reading live on air where she was talking to somebody whose sister had passed away in very tragic circumstances and telling her sister that they were trapped on this earth and they were not going to go into the afterlife until their murderer has been caught. That is a load of bullshit. It is religious conditioning that makes that possible. I have never in all my working years come across a soul spirit person that is trapped on this earth plane. No matter how somebody dies, how they end their human existence, they will travel into the afterlife. And that is an important thing to understand because it can cause a lot of pain to people to think that their loved one is wandering around the earth, struggling because of the way that they sadly passed. I also am going to talk about something that a lot of people don't quite, or they talk about, but they don't quite understand. Many people will remember their past lives until they get to the age of about 9 or 10. And children they don't have the barriers to really stop those thoughts coming through. And I have seen how children can accurately explain their past life. Some children have birthmarks that are connected to their past life, or before they get to the age of about 7 or 8, they will talk openly about the town that they lived in, about who their mummy or daddy were, or who their children were. They will remember an accident. In Western culture, these types of statements are often really dismissed as fantasy. Even though they might contain something other than pure imagination, it is probably best not to repeatedly question children if they're coming up with this information, but allow them to openly talk on these topics. There are children that will know that they have a connection to their parents, but maybe in their past life their parents were their siblings and they are able to differentiate. I have, over the years of all the work that I've done, I've managed to make a bit of a connection that we often reincarnate as members of the same soul group. So for instance, you could be born to a family that could have been your siblings. I know that sounds strange, but there is a connection. Your siblings could have been your parent. There are this group that we go through life with the same soul family. And I have seen that with my own eyes over a number of years doing the work that I do. There are many, many stories about children that remember their past lives. As I said, usually sort of that 7 or 8 years old. There is an American university that has compiled a database of more than 2,200 children who have been haunted by carry-over memories of past lives since 1960. But again, they tend to lose these memories by the time they get to 8. Children generally between the age of 2 and 6 either had an epiphany, having experienced déjà vu when visiting certain places, or it has come to them in lucid dreams. The most famous case in Britain was toddler Cameron Macaulay, star of the 2006 documentary Extraordinary People, the boy who lived before. From the age of 2, he was perfectly described his home on a beach in the Outer Hebrides, including the death of his father in a car crash and his pet black and white sheepdog, despite never visiting the Scottish island and nor had any of his Glaswegian family. I have to go to Barra. I have to go to Barra. My family are missing me, he would tell his parents. He recalled swimming in rock pools and playing with friends on the beach where some planes would land. Cameron's visions of life there were so real to him that on occasion he would need to be collected from nursery as he was crying for his parents. Eventually, his family relented and visited and found a home on the beach there exactly as he had described. And that is exactly how it happens to children, and they will gradually lose that vividness of that information. I have done a previous podcast, and I will try and link it here, with psychic medium Pam Sears, who has written a book on how to explain these things to children of this age group. But past lives are one thing. The one thing I don't have a great agreement of is this. Many people will feel that they have made an agreement or a decision to come back into this life with certain ailments, agreeing to certain abuse, being held responsible for them dealing with things that are difficult in this life. Now, the reason I am dead against this is that a lot of people will decide to go and do past life regression and try and find out things about their lives that way. There is nothing in your previous life or existence that you have agreed to carry over into this lifetime. Anyone that says that to you is trying to take away your power. They're trying to make you feel disempowered, and as if you can blame something that's happened in a past life rather than work on something that is happening in this life. The difficult thing is that many of us do come into this life or come through this existence, and we are faced with challenges and lessons. They are for us to learn in this lifetime. They are not for us to blame a previous existence or previous life because of what is happening to us in this lifetime. If we start doing things like past life regression therapy, which you have to find a sensationally amazing person to do that and someone you can trust, but what is it doing for you? How is that going to help you cope with what is happening in this lifetime? Remember, spirituality is all about empowering you, and empowering you in a way that gives you control over your life. So let's do our Patreon shout outs for this week. I just pulled them up and went, oh, okay, there's a lot of new members. Welcome, new members. It is lovely to have you here. I would not be able to do this without my Patreons. You're all amazing. Thank you very much for supporting me. I've recently uploaded a Patreon-only podcast that covered the Ukraine-Russia war, the Middle East conflict, and what I have been shown regarding P. Diddy, Sean Combs. I always feel very silly calling him P. Diddy. And that's all over on my Patreon page for everyone to listen to. But let's give you a shout out. I've got Robin, Brittany Chandler, Danny Mack, Meg, Jessica Newman, Patty N, Talisa Ely, another Patty, Katrina Tassinari, I'm sorry, Shabos, there's some names here I'm struggling with, Disifa Lotsu, Cheryl Brantley, Sonia Hernandez Gilbert, Andrea Lewis, Lena Espada, Holly Draper, Darcy Wilmouth, Jenny, Gigi, Erica, Genevieve Stepaniak, Danny R, JWOL 186, Steph Mora, Jay, Sean Shaughnessy, Brenda, Sandy, Deb, Jennifer Freeberg, Marielle, Catherine Yassi, M. Knight, Jen, Bookslut, Bovari Taritas, Amorita, Tudi, Kim Preeson, Amanda, El Harrow, Kat, Stephanie, Debbie, Isabel, Kari, Tabitha German, Hilary Howe, Pauline Borghesi Campbell, Christy DeLeon, Linda Bravo, Erin and Talon. Thank you guys. You guys rock. I can't believe how lucky I am to have such a supportive team and crowd around me. I need to make a couple of corrections. Pauline Borghesa Campbell has subscribed for 12 months. Christy DeLeon has also subscribed for 12 months. And 2D has subscribed for 12 months as well. You guys are amazing. Thank you so much. Your support means the world to me. And it does mean that I can do all this extra content for you. And it does support my podcast. So thank you all for all of that. This month we are coming up on our coffee morning where you all get to have a coffee morning chat with me, ask me some questions about current events or spiritual questions. My newsletter will be going out next week. No, it won't. It'll be going out this weekend. And I will be uploading another Patreon-only podcast, which is around the weather coming into the East Coast of America that I have seen in this October. So that's all going up onto Patreon very shortly. But what I want to reiterate to everyone is it is great that people have an interest in past lives. We all have them, but try not to blame your past life for what is happening to you in this lifetime. We all have to learn our lessons, and we will be presented with our lessons time and time again until we learn them. That is for this lifetime. It is not about a past life. I have even heard really bad practitioners telling people that disabled children decided or chose to come back with a disability. Someone has chosen to come back into abusive marriages or relationships and suffer the way that they've suffered. That is bullshit. And the power is yours. The one thing that Spirit really want people to know is how empowered and how powerful they are, and how not to hand that power over to anybody, whether it be your guides and you're just saying, guides, show me what to do, or a practitioner like myself. We should all be empowering you, and you should be empowering yourself to get the most out of your life. Different religions believe in different ways of reincarnation and what it means to reincarnate. For instance, the Hindu religion believes that you are forever paying off a karmic debt from a previous life. And you will pretty much never pay off that debt unless you live an exemplary life. In Buddhism, believes that we learn a lesson to let go of things and let go of desires through our lifetime, thus leading to enlightenment and growth. Not every religion has an ideal of what reincarnation is. Western reincarnations, the purpose of rebirth, is to learn the lessons we need to learn in each incarnation in order to advance to the next spiritual level, which, while having some similarities to the Buddhist concept of slowly achieving enlightenment over a number of incarnations by practicing the Buddha's eightfold path. That's the right view, right intentions, right speech, right action, right livelihood, right effort, right mindfulness, and right concentration. It's actually quite different. There is a big significant difference between Eastern and Western concepts of reincarnation have to do with the perception of what it is exactly that is reincarnating. The Hindu sees the soul, the divine essence of God, as being the generator of each incarnation, with its individual personality or ego, a transient expression of that soul. In marked contrast, Buddhists don't believe in individualized souls at all, but believes the sense of self is merely an illusion created by our own perceptions, a conscious memory, if you will, conceived by our assumption that we exist separately. To the Buddhist, we are all part of a larger divine consciousness that has simply taken on the very brief illusion that it is separate. The Buddhists compare our sense of existence to the waves upon the ocean. Just as a wave is a temporary phenomena caused by wind and currents, our personality is equally as transient and is upon death absorbed back into the divine consciousness in the same way that a wave upon the ocean is eventually swallowed up by the ocean itself. In the West, however, the personality or the ego is more robust and generally considered immortal. To many, the soul and the personality are considered essentially synonymous. So as a result, when we die, our basic personality, complete with all its memories, life experiences, knowledge and traits, returns to another body to continue its existence. It may not have a direct memory of its past life, though some people claim to be able to remember many things about their past life. The personality may experience dramatically new surroundings, for example. It may experience one incarnation as an Indian girl who lived and died in the 19th century and then return as a Spanish man in the 20th century. But it is still the same person underlying each role. Of course, the experiences and the environment is very different with each subsequent incarnation and will affect the base personality in both subtle and sometimes substantial ways. This is why the Westerner sees reincarnation in context of lessons. After all, the Indian girl was able to experience and learn only so much in her short time on Earth, mandating that she return again, this time as a Spanish male, to learn those things she either neglected to learn or hadn't the opportunity to learn in her previous incarnation. This makes spiritual enlightenment a type of to-do list from each rebirth. This isn't something that I personally believe in. Many of us believe in different parts of these Eastern Western ideologies of reincarnation. For me, I believe that we learn fresh lessons with each reincarnation. We are not paying the price or making the choice of how we reincarnate. We don't choose to come back as who we are, but there are still lessons to learn along the way. You choose what you believe in, but I am only giving you my experience from what I have learnt over many years. Let's talk about what I see coming in the next couple of months, or what I have been shown coming in over the next couple of months. I am going to, first of all, talk about the debate that's coming up. I think it's next week. It will be, I think it's on Tuesday next week, I think. Tim Waltz will do an amazing job. He's got to hold his consciousness. I do think you will see his school teacher ability come out in him. He will come across as a little bit condescending, but very funny. I feel that JD Vance is not going to do very well because he will talk in circles. He is not going to be able to prove the points he wants to prove. So Tim Waltz will do good. I do think he will win this debate. If he can hold his consciousness, he's got to hold that. He does have a habit of feeling as if when he's under pressure, he could snap. I've never seen it. I don't think it's in his personality. I think he's more likely to go into condescending mode. So hold on to that. There is news coming out from Denmark regarding the royal family, which could be quite shocking. I feel like there could be somebody is sicker than they have let on. That's coming up. I'm not seeing a lot around the election just now, but I will dive a little bit deeper into that. News coming out of New Zealand, political-wise. I feel like the current Prime Minister will have a vote of no confidence or something. Something's going to happen around him. And the other thing I'm being shown regarding Canada, is it Trudeau? I think that he's going to resign. There's going to be a resignation in Canada. I feel like it's the Prime Minister. I would not be surprised. I feel like it's 2 to 3. Okay, it could be 2 to 3 weeks or 2 to 3 months. Thank you for that. That's very helpful. But I do feel like he's going to resign. There could be a drama or some form of dirt suddenly dug up around him. So hold on to that. That's about it from me today. I hope that has been helpful around past lives and reincarnation, and that try not to hold on to past lives. I know it's really fascinating. From a side note, I think that I was my great-grandmother in a past life. I have always had a fear of wells. Right from a really young child, I've had a fear of wells. I have severe claustrophobia, and everyone laughs at me about it. But I have a fear of wells. I have a fear of drowning. And my great-grandmother died by jumping into a well. There's a whole story that goes behind it. But she took her own life by jumping into a well. And I wonder if I am her. I've never done past life regression. It doesn't interest me. And I don't think that we can particularly hold on to or blame things that we have to learn, etc., or things that we've agreed to. But I do think that part of my fear I didn't know that she had died jumping into a well until I was in my 40s. So that's all news. Anyone interested, on the 29th of September, which is the 28th in the US, it is an evening event in the US. I have a evidential mediumship display event. I will link it in my show notes. That is the last mediumship event this year. There will be no more. I have nowhere to fit one in. So this is it. This is your last chance. It is $50 Australian, which is about $30 US for an hour and a half mediumship display. There is opportunities for readings, and I think there's about 100 people in the room. So that is what I have coming up. Put it in your, save the date for the 8th of September. No, the 8th of December, Matilda. The 8th of December, where I am holding a 2025 predictive event. It will be put on my Patreon first. There is a nice discount going to Patreon members. So, yeah, save that date. But thank you for your attention today. I will see you all next week. Have a great week. Take care.